The Battle of Waren-Nossentin on 1 November 1806 saw soldiers of the Kingdom of Prussia led by August Wilhelm von Plesse and Ludwig Georg von Wartenberg fight a rearguard action against troops of the First French Empire commanded by Marshal Jean-Baptiste Bernadotte. Though forced to give ground, the Prussians successfully kept the French from inflicting serious loss or cutting off any units in this war of the Fourth Coalition action. Waren lies on the northern end of Lake Müritz, about 70 kilometers southeast of Rostock. Nossentin is a small village on the Vließen Sea about 15 kilometers due west of Waren. After the Battle of Jena Auerstedt on 14 October 1806, Emperor Napoleon launched an all-out pursuit of the defeated Prussians. At the end of October, the French managed to cut off and capture large numbers of Prussian soldiers near Prenzlau and Stettin. Gebhard Leberecht von Blücher's corps evaded capture by turning back to the west. Near Waren, Blücher linked up with another Prussian corps and the combined force withdrew to the west. As the Prussian rearguard pulled out of Waren, the 1st French cavalry attacked. This action started an all-day battle between Plesse and York's troops and the French. Though Bernadotte attacked vigorously, the Prussians managed to get away intact after several clashes. In contrast to their dismal performance to date, the Prussians acquitted themselves well in this fight. Background: the Battle of Prenzlau on 28 October 1806 ended with the capitulation of General of Infantry Frederick Lewis, Prince of Hohenlohe-Ingelfingen, with his surviving 10,000 Prussian troops to Marshal Joachim Murat. This disaster was followed by the capitulation of Passwalk on 29 October and the capitulation of Stettin on 30 October. In the next few days, the French mopped up the Prussian forces in the area in a series of surrenders at Boldukov on 30 October, Anklam and Kustrien on 1 November, and Wolgast on 2 and 3 November. Since 24 October, General-Lieutenant Blücher had served as Prince Hohenlohe's rearguard commander. The commander of the First Corps, Marshal Bernadotte, picked up news of Hohenlohe on the 25th when he was at Brandenburg and Havel and determined to follow the Prussians. From now on, the First Corps moved northeast on the 26th, to reach Oranienburg on the 27th. Moving north, the French arrived at Fürstenberg on the 28th before turning northeast to reach Boitzenburg on the 29th. On 30 October, Bernadotte received reports that Blücher turned back to Neusterlitz. Bernadotte sent Colonel Etienne Maurice Gerard with his 2nd Hussar Regiment to harass the Prussian retreat and turned his corps northwest on the 30th. Besides capturing 400 soldiers and a number of wagons, Gerard secured the information that Blücher was headed for Waren. That evening, Bernadotte's troops made it to Bergstadtgard, 8 kilometers southeast of Neubrandenburg. At this time Marshal Nicholas Solz's 4th Corps was at Wusterhausen, just north of Neustadt and Erdos. On 31 October, Blücher joined the column under General-Lieutenant Johann Friedrich von Winning near Waren. Winning's force, originally led by General Karl August, Grand Duke of Saxe-Weimar-Eisenach, missed the Battle of Jena Auerstedt on 14 October and had been trailing Blücher ever since. Winning wanted to reach Rostock to the north, and, to this end, he ordered General Major Karl Georg Friedrich von Wobesser to move ahead and prepare the port for evacuation. However, Blücher called off the Rostock operation in favor of his own idea, which was to cross to the west bank of the Elbe at Boisenberg. He hoped to join with General Karl Ludwig von Lecoq in the former electorate of Hanover, or with General-Lieutenant Franz Casimir von Kleist, Magdeburg. To that end he sent officers to collect boats and supplies in the area. Blücher organized his army into 2 corps. He gave Winning command of the 11,000-man First Corps, while retaining control of the 10,000-strong Second Corps. The Prussians had a particularly powerful cavalry contingent, with 80 squadrons total. Each corps was subdivided into 2 heavy and 1 light divisions. Altogether, 47,252 French troops were hunting for Blucher. Bernadotte had 15,450, Soult led 24,375. General of Division Louis Michel-Antoine Saarhouk's 4th Dragoon Division numbered 2,550 troopers. General of Division Emmanuel Grouchy's 2nd Dragoon Division had 2,432 horsemen. General of Brigade Antoine Lassalle counted 785 hussars. And General of Division Jean-Joseph Onge Powell's 2nd Cuirassier Division included 1,660 cavalrymen. Bernadotte dropped off his least fit men at Neubrandenburg and pressed on with 12,000. Meanwhile, Murat and his cavalry were sweeping west through western Pomerania. Battle. On the morning of the 1st of November, the Prussians left Waren. Blucher moved to the northeast via Hohenwangelen, covered by a rearguard under General Major Friedrich Gottlieb von Oswald. Winning marched east along the north shore of several lakes, covered by Oberst von Plesse's rearguard. That morning in Waren, Colonel Claude-Étienne Guyot with the 400-strong 22nd Chasseurs à Cheval from Soult's corps surrounded and captured Major Schmuder and 170 dragoons. However, when Guyot tried to advance from the town, Plesse counterattacked with 850 horsemen of the Kohler Hussar Regiment No. 7. For a loss of only 1 killed, 15 wounded, and 10 missing, the Prussian hussars threw Guyot's cavalry back into Waren and freed Schmuder and his men. The French lost 6 officers killed or wounded, over 40 men captured, and an unknown number killed or wounded in this minor Prussian victory. After Guyot's discomfiture, Bernadotte's cavalry arrived in Waren to give the French 6 regiments in the area. General of Brigade Jacques-Louis-François de Laisted Attilly led the 1st Corps Cavalry, consisting of the 2nd and 4th Hussar Regiments and 5th Chasseurs à Cheval Regiment. General of Brigade Pierre Margaron commanded the 4th Corps Cavalry, including the 8th Hussar Regiment, and 11th, 16th, and 22nd Chasseurs à Cheval Regiments. On the outskirts of Waren, the French light cavalry began a series of skirmishes with the Prussian horsemen that lasted from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Meanwhile, the Prussian rearguard under York took a defensive position between 2 lakes at the village of Jabal. The lakes near Jabal are the Jabalsha Sea to the south and the Lopina Sea to the north. While historian Francis Lorraine Petre notes that Plesse was the rearguard commander, he credits York with the tactical control of the battle. Under York's direction were 3 Fusilier battalions, 6 Jaeger companies, and 20 squadrons of hussars. General of Division and Jean-Marie René Savary arrived with a task force consisting of the 1st Hussar and 7th Chasseurs à Cheval regiments, giving the French a total of 8 cavalry regiments. Savary detected Oswald's rearguard at Summersdorf northwest of Waren and prepared to attack, but Bernadotte recalled him to Jabal. The 2 sides exchanged artillery fire at Jabal for an hour before York pulled back into the woods toward Nossentin. Spearheaded by the 9th Light Infantry Regiment of General of Division Pierre Dupont de Loretang's division, the French pressed ahead into the woods to be met by vigorous resistance from the Prussian Jaegers and Fusiliers. At length, Bernadotte's force passed the western edge of the wood to find York's men drawn up awaiting them. The Prussian right flank rested on the Fliesen Lake, the centre on Nossentin village, and the left flank on marshy ground. York deployed his infantry in the front line with his horsemen in the rear. After a French hussar regiment was repulsed from Nossentin, Bernadotte committed General of Division Jean-Baptiste Drouet, Comte Erlin's division to the attack. Drouet's 7 Battalion Division included of the 27th Light Infantry, and the 94th and 95th Line Infantry Regiments. At the same time the Marshal tried to turn the Prussian left flank with his cavalry. The cavalry attack failed amid marshes and water-filled ditches, but Drouet drove York's men out of the village after a hard fight. During the ineffectual cavalry maneuvers, Bernadotte was thrown from his horse and ridden over by the 5th Chasseurs à Cheval Regiment. York retreated to Alt-Schwerin, reaching there at 10 p.m. that evening. Result: later, Bernadotte claimed to have fought 12,000 or more Prussians, while Soult estimated there were between 5,000 and 6,000 enemies. Petre, who gives no casualty figures, suggested that the Prussians had only about 2,000 infantry and 2,000 cavalry available, in addition to a half-battery of horse artillery, plus regimental guns. Since a Prussian horse battery comprised 6 6-pound guns and 2 7-pound howitzers, York's half-battery must have had 4 guns. Gunther E. Rothenberg states that the Fusilier battalions did not use regimental guns in 1806. When Murat heard about the fighting at Waren-Nossentin, he abandoned his march on Rostock and decided to march to the I Corps' assistance. He later found that Bernadotte and Soult joined hands and realized that they did not need his help. Petre credits the Prussian success to York's tactical competence and the fact that his troops missed the Jena Auerstadt disaster. York sensed when each of his positions became untenable and issued orders to fall back just in time. In his after-battle report, Bernadotte admitted that his enemies fought well, but tried to minimize the action. Savary criticized Bernadotte for not supporting his cavalry with infantry attacks. The French pursuit continued until Blücher was crushed at the Battle of Lübeck on 6 November.